So I'll tell you just a little bit about my background first, and then in the end, we'll have time for questions. But what we really want to talk about is about impact investing. It's a masterclass about impact investing and around impact tech, which is my key focus. My background has been in this field since 2008, where I really had the beautiful opportunity to join a firm called Leehe & Co., which dealt with access to energy solutions. We're going to talk a little bit about the background of impact investing and how it grew. From early stages, I had the beautiful opportunity to be in that early stage and to talk about this sector in a more coordinated way. Just a quick kind of review. We'll talk a little bit also about intro to the sector and a little bit about definitions. There are many mistakes and confusion and ambiguousness around what is impact investing, and some would even call it a hype, and there's different kind of words and usage of different kind of concepts, and we have terms. We some call it sustainability. There are people with social bonds and social investing and venture philanthropy and CSR and the SDGs, and so anyone who's new to the field can get a little bit confused. So I like starting a little bit with just definitions. I'm sure anyone who's a bit more used to this network then doesn't need it, but anyone who has questions is welcome to ask me. What we have today. So what we've decided to do is I'll speak a little bit about my background and what I'm doing today. And then we're going to, in 20 minutes, go to Q&A and have an opportunity really to talk together just as a group. So I'll mention again, my background is really in the climate finance world. I started my journey in the impact investing world around end of 2008, early 2009, when I met a group called Leehe & Co. in New York, which was a pioneer impact investing fund, really dedicated to addressing the issue of access to finance, access to energy in developing countries. So addressing business model solutions for people who are living off grid. It's about 2 billion people who don't have access to electricity, for around 4 billion people without access to modern cooking. And then what we essentially wanted to do is to invest in solutions for this challenge, the access to energy challenge, through renewable energy solutions. So we only invested in renewable solutions for these populations. It was really a groundbreaking approach, considering it was investing in developing countries, early stage entrepreneurs, and in renewable energies. And the fund was founded in '92, so it was quite exciting at the time. I joined them 16, 17 years later, when it was already an established practice, when they're really one of the leading impact investing firms in the world, and really showing how it could be done. And you can find a business model that can properly maximize impact and maximize finance. And I joined this firm right during really the financial crisis of living in New York and seeing what's going on, and was passionate about climate way before I was an environmental activist in my past. Then I moved to the financial world, and here was the world that I could join. So I joined them in the beginning in New York, and then in Amsterdam, supporting the creation of a fund for Africa. So doing the strategic analysis of 131 investments we made in Africa in renewable energy solutions for off-grid populations, and really getting lessons learned and key ideas of like type of investments that work, type of technology that are most successful. Where did we maximize impact and finance, and how it worked? I later kind of joined the African portfolio management team and really worked with a few of our leading entrepreneurs to understand them and to restructure our deals, and had really the chance to dive into these kind of business models that we call inclusive business models, or at the time we called them BOP business models, which is base of the pyramid business models, which means these are the kind of business models that look at a challenge facing a low-income community that has many, economic and financial challenges. If we look at the places where I lived in Africa, most of the population did not have bank account, not even talking about a credit card, and did not have a formal address and any kind of formal work or employment through wages. So how do you sell something to an end user like that when it's more than a few dollars, when you actually need credit for it? So we had to ask all these questions, and we had to create, help these entrepreneurs create business models that really look at unique and innovative ways for distribution, for marketing, and for financing solutions. So for example, we could find a company like Toyola, which Toyola is a Ghanaian company that sells improved cook stoves. So instead of people cooking on an open fire, really, like, again, 3 to 4 or 5 billion people in the world, depends how we count it, then you can, it's a closed cook stove. You can stick in the coals or firewood in there, and it heats up the ceramic liner on top, and you put your pot on top. So just a cook stove. But even that reduces the amount of smoke and soot, black soot, by 80%, and reduces the amount of coal you need or firewood that you need by 50%. So even that simple solution, which will actually only cost $10, this improved cook stove, had a significant impact on people's lives, their health, and the environment. And even those $10 products were difficult to introduce into a very traditional market. So even here, we had to be super innovative about, well, not us, but the entrepreneur, with our help, of course, about how do you market such a product when it's like deep in the bush, and meaning not an area where there are lots of cars and trucks and you have to market something. So they did a few really interesting concepts that I think are very educational around business models that really maximize impact and are profitable. One of the things is that during the time when Toyola launched, there was a World Bank campaign that was all about just a health awareness campaign about smoking, about breathing in all the smoke that you cook, because so many people are cooking on firewood. A lot of women who are doing a lot of the cooking weren't aware how lethal the inhaling of the smoke could be, and so the World Bank was doing a whole campaign just to raise awareness regarding being careful around smoking, around inhaling the smoke from firewood. And that was an amazing campaign. It was really trying to help lives. The problem was, for a lot of the end users, they found out the campaign, like, oh wow, there is an issue. I don't want to risk the health of me or my children or my family, but what am I supposed to do? Right? They just raised an awareness of the problem without bringing like concrete solutions. And Toyola came in right after, so with a similar wording of that public campaign and that marketing campaign, and kind of said, you know that campaign, you know it's unhealthy, here is a solution, buy my product. And now that seems like a natural thing to do. What's innovative here is really, without complex partnership agreements, it is essentially a public-private partnership, because a public initiative created a whole campaign which essentially funded in a way, or supported the marketing campaign of this small new entrepreneur that wouldn't have been able to do such a national campaign and raise awareness for his product. And that is very consistent with a lot of impact businesses, or businesses that receive impact investment, because they are addressing an issue that is a public issue, a social or environmental challenge that we all face. A lot of times you'll find interactions with public or nonprofit initiatives where you can work together, where each side does what they do best and solve or try to solve the problem together. In this case, raising awareness is something that a World Bank campaign would have an advantage of doing, but actually creating a product, creating a business unit, sales force, post-sales maintenance, that is something that is much more suited for a local entrepreneur. And so working together with public initiatives or nonprofit initiatives in a smart way is a beautiful way to create innovative business models. The other side of what I want to talk about is around scale and around coming up with the innovative solution, which I believe has a lot to do with technology innovation. And so I'll tell you another story from my work when I was still at Leehe & Co. We were, as investors in renewable energy solutions for people who live off-grid, obviously one type of business that we invested in are companies that sell solar home systems. So solar home systems are standalone systems that you put a solar panel on your roof, and then you connect it to your own kind of electricity box, and you're just creating electricity for yourself, for your home. It's an off-grid solution. And these kind of solutions, even in developing countries where the use of energy and electricity is quite small compared to a typical OECD kind of household, even then, the cost of a system at the time, now it went down a bit, was around $1,000. $1,000 for a very low-income population is quite a lot, especially if we're talking about population earning around $10 a day on average. That's around $360 a year. Sorry, $3,600 a year. That $1,000 of that is quite a lot. So we're looking at a population that doesn't have a credit line, doesn't have a credit card, doesn't have a bank account. How would they buy a system that costs more, anything that costs more than what they have today? Which means if you want to successfully introduce a product, you also have to think of the financial mechanisms for them to buy the product. And now that exists everywhere. Of course, if you walk into an electronics shop and you want to buy a TV, that electronics shop can give you a credit line and essentially provide consumer finance for you as a customer. It's easier when you have a credit card. But as it is, that concept exists. And what we were trying to help entrepreneurs is create these kind of credit lines through partnerships with banks or microfinance institutions. And then came a great innovation. The innovation was a bunch of people around the world were trying to create a tech solution, so a technological solution that will connect your solar system that is on your roof with cellular towers, so what works on your mobile phone, and that you can add money through your phone, like you top up any kind of other account. You add money to your electricity account, and that will make it work for a specific amount of time. It's called pay as you go. And so the end user, the customer, will buy the product, pay a little bit of a down payment, then slowly catch up through the use to the full cost of the product. That's amazing, right? That way you don't need a credit card, you don't need a bank account. This is direct consumer finance. But this was around 2012 when the sector was taking off. And I realized that there's a big issue. Impact investors saw this technology developing. We knew that it is groundbreaking, that it could actually open up the markets and really make a difference and grow the sales of our entrepreneurs. But we couldn't really invest in these technologies because most impact investors' mandate is proven technologies only. So impact investors are usually exposed to so many risks that, like market risks. They're usually in a new market that they don't have a lot of competitors. They have political risks sometimes if they're in developing countries. So there's a lot of risk as an investor. And they really want to benefit a specific population. So they want to benefit end users in Africa or kind of look at their impact in a very specific analytical way. And that is amazing. The problem is when you want to develop a technology, just the early stages of the development, the hardware, the software, the people programming in their garage, they don't really know yet who is going to be the end users at the end. And also, they don't know if the product will work. And so that is a specific kind of risk investing in early stage technology. It's called technology risk. It's saying, like, we don't know if you guys are going to make it, but we're going to give you money to do it anyway. We're going to do the best assessment that we can. And impact investors at the time very fairly were like, we have so many challenges in our investments. We will only invest in entrepreneurs that have innovative business models or new solutions of proven technologies. So someone else is going to develop the technologies when it's proven. We'll invest in the rollout to certain markets and certain geographies and make sure that it makes an impact. And that makes sense. The thing is, who invests in early stage technologies? Those are venture capitalists. And those VC centers around the world, Silicon Valley is very, high, Shanghai, even in my home country in Tel Aviv, there's a very vibrant tech innovation ecosystem with a lot of venture capital there. This sector was completely isolated from the global challenges, and nobody was, when these entrepreneurs were developing new tech solutions, were not looking at the global challenges in developing countries. And so around 2012, 2013, I noticed this gap that we need tech innovation in order to really address our challenges, because not all technologies have been developed already. But the people developing the technologies and the money supporting those developments are just not there. And so I actually moved back to Israel to help connect this crazy dynamic tech innovation space with the global capital for impact and for climate finance, which is what I was part of. And I've been kind of trying to bridge the two on my own through different initiatives and as a consultant for the last few years. And slowly, of course, I'm not alone. There's a lot more people trying to really connect these two worlds of tech innovation and impact capital. And slowly, it started happening, and more actors started understanding that if we don't support innovation, not only for the next cool gadget or a cyber solution or this kind of stuff that usually venture capital invests in, if we don't invest in technology innovation, like proper deep tech, what they call, for our global challenges, including our climate crisis, including inequality, including all the great challenges that the world faces, with the chances of humanity creating the innovation and the solutions that we need are quite small. We need these bright minds of technology innovators, which are the ones who are really shaping the reality of our future. Whoever's developing a technology today, the ones who succeed are going to create solutions or applications, anything from Facebook to the iPhone or whatever, that will change our life and will actually shape our reality in 5 to 10 years. And so if we really want to shape our reality in 5 to 10 years to be a more holistic, safe, and regenerative economy, we have to properly invest in impact tech. And so a lot more people have slowly joined this journey, and it's actually got a lot of traction, but it hasn't yet been organized. And so we have different organizations starting different ways to invest in tech, when one of the key things when we're talking about impact tech, for it to be effective, for us to choose the winners or choose the early stage technologies that will make an influence on the SDGs, we need a methodology, an analytical approach to know if this technology today is going to have the impact we wanted it to have. So we have to make assumptions. We have to kind of imagine the world with this technology. And there are different methodologies and frameworks for that around the world. Of course, they're very consistent and strong methodologies for traditional impact investing. But something about tech innovation requires another element of kind of imagining and assuming about the future. And that element is still very fragmented. So every different impact VC that is showing up into the world, and if we have the slides down the line, you'll see we have a mapping of the different impact VCs around the world. Then they have a different framework of imagining how this early stage technology is going to change the world. And that's a problem if we don't agree on those basic things. And I believe that one of these, that this issue that there's not standards and shared frameworks is actually a barrier for more capital to come in and to invest in early stage technology for impact. And so from the $750 billion that were invested in impact investing at 2020 report of the GIN. Only 1 billion, so just about 1%, was dedicated to early stage venture capital impact. And that's not enough. That's absolutely not enough. So seeing this challenge, seeing the potential and the interest of so many entrepreneurs and so many financiers, and yet the barriers of this ecosystem, about 8 months ago, me and Cecilia decided to open an organization called GITA, which is a Global Impact Tech Alliance, which aims to try to coordinate and connect anyone in the ecosystem of impact tech. So it could be investors, it could be accelerator managers and owners, it could be angel investors or private wealth that want to make an influence, public sector bodies that want to help support tech innovation for the challenges in their municipality, in their government, in their country, wherever. So anyone in this space, we're trying to bring them together through both just as a network and meeting spaces, and later we'll send you a bit of more information and some links about our work, but also connect the actual tools and actual knowledge that practitioners are using in order to make sure that we are finding the right technology innovation that will make a dent in the SDGs. And so GITA was launched on the 23rd of January. I will remember that date because that same date we had a bunch of guests flying in to participate in our launch, and all air traffic was kind of halted because the Chinese announced, the government of China announced that there's some disease going on in Wuhan and that they're closing that airport. And so basically the first time I heard of Corona was on the 23rd of January, the day we launched. And of course, our whole plans of how we are planning to set up this organization and grow, and we're planning to do chapters all over the world and to connect with partners all over the world, because we believe first and foremost in collaboration. So we just want to bring together everyone in this field, and so everyone will know each other and leverage each other's work. We're not planning to double anyone's work. All those plans have changed, and GITA has become really a place of a lot of online events and meetups and connectivity. And we have like amazing virtual working groups around the world working to help address the problems of the ecosystem. And anyone who's listening to me, you're more than welcome to join these working groups and to help support the impact tech ecosystem. The one thing I'll mention is we do believe that tech and impact have to connect in more than one way. Of course, we have to help technology innovation development for the impact world, for the SDGs. But there's another side of that. It's also about how can we use technology in a better way? Can we create shared platforms that work together? I think the speaker before me was talking about such a platform for sharing. And how could we develop technologies in general, or use technologies in order to help us as an ecosystem work better? So those are the kind of issues with impact tech we're talking about. Where can tech innovation support proper impact, measurable, managed impact based on the SDG frameworks? And also, how can the impact framework or thought, or the impact economy kind of philosophy enter the tech world, both in terms of responsibility and also in terms of a holistic approach for anyone dealing with tech, not only tech innovation, but just software, et cetera, to really have a better platform, better solutions for us to make sure we are maximizing impact, all of us practitioners around the world, through collaboration of software, through open source software, and the kind of different approaches. So we're really trying to bring the two worlds of impact and tech together. So that's kind of what I wanted to present to you today. Of course, there's a whole presentation, lots of data and slides and pictures that we could have gone over. But this is just a brief overview, and we're moving now, I think, if Miriam kind of moves it out, to the Q&A session. We could just have an open discussion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you are interested in, what kind of platforms, or where you see tech and impact. So Yeah, looking forward to the Q&A.